Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Okay, let me first.
Hi Vivek. Hi everyone.
Hey, hi Kishore. We have Ashwini and Sudha also.
Vivek, the quiz is it open for scope also? Scope management, or it will be done tomorrow?
Sorry, say it again.
I mean, I just logged into the virtual learning center,
Uh-huh.
and the scope management quiz is not yet updated, right?
It's not yet
Not yet
enabled.
released.
Yeah, so it will be enabled today. We'll enable it today.
Okay.
Anyone has any question? Good morning, Sai.
Good morning, Vivek. In fact, good evening there.
Yeah. Any question?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
In fact, the questions will come after the quiz time.
Right.
I was looking for some updates about that Malaysian plane,
Oh,
missing
there
plane.
is no update. I said it's not.
No,
Nothing
that's
was
what I
found
was watching right
as
now.
of now.
Yeah.
Good evening, Vivek.
Good afternoon, Sudha. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
You missed the yesterday's one.
Yes, I was working, so couldn't make it.
Okay.
So I just got back in the evening.
Yeah. Friday, it's
It's a working day and it's afternoon time for me. It's like the peak time.
right. It's a peak time. Absolutely.
So just try and catch up through the recording.
Hello.
Yeah, recording will be available. It's already uploaded. I will share the URL.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hi, Jera. How are you?
Thank you very much. And yourself?
Going well? So let's get it started, I think. Any question before I start? Anyone? Okay. So yesterday we covered some part of scope management. Let me go to the top and just review quickly. Okay, we talked about yesterday scope management. That is preparing a scope management plan. Then the collecting the requirements, defining the scope, and create work breakdown structure. Validate scope and control scope we will cover today. Before we move to scope management, we talk about product scope and project scope. So we discussed this. The product scope is about features and function of the product which will be delivered. And in the project scope, we are talking about the work which need to be done to deliver the product. Right, that's the difference. And we talk about scope management plan, and especially we talked about that it is all about how the scope will be defined, how it will be validated, how will it be controlled, what is the methodology we will go. Okay, again, and also we talk about the requirement management plan. Requirement management plan will be limited to the only requirement, which is the normally the first phase or the second phase of the project, and it will define that how requirements will be collected, maybe who are the stakeholders, what are the methodology we're going to use, any tools or technique we're going to use in this, how the requirements will be tracked throughout the project, prioritization of the what is the prioritization, on what criteria we will prioritize requirements, any matrix which is related to the requirement on which product can be measured, and the structure of the traceability matrix. In the collect requirement, we discuss about various tools and techniques. The interview focus group, we talk about when we have to evolve the requirement or finalize the requirement of a specific function, we organize focus group. When we have to clear the requirements or close the requirements or discuss about the requirements which are cross-functional, we organize a facilitated workshop. Either it is focus group or facilitated workshop, it is a group creativity techniques which are normally used. Some of them are brainstorming, nominal group techniques, Delphi techniques, idea or mind mapping. We said to organize or to better organize a brainstorming session, it is the affinity diagram and the mind mapping which can be used. Delphi technique is normally quite commonly used because you can get the from the various even if they are not at one location, because it is done by doing some survey or questionnaire. And the only condition which is normally kept into Delphi technique is that we are not going to tell stakeholders who else are involved. Okay, then we talk about group decision technique, how in a group we're going to make decisions. Question and survey, as just explained. Observation, we talk about that when we do about talk about migrations or then system is existing, we are upgrading the same system, so we can collect the requirement by observing the existing system. Prototype is pretty commonly used when the industry standards are available and customer says, okay, you have to prepare something keeping these benchmarks in mind. Okay, so when you come out with the requirement document which have your functional, non-functional requirements, the quality related requirements, performance requirements, support and training requirements, all the assumption and constraints on which these requirements are based to be documented, and acceptance criteria for the requirements, not for the project. The second output is traceability matrix. Traceability matrix is a spreadsheet which ensures that all the requirements are documented and they have been taken care of throughout the project, the phases. Okay, then we talk about define a scope, and the outcome of this is the scope statement. And the scope statement is about narrative description of the scope, which defines what is in the scope and what is out of the scope. It also talks about the acceptance criteria, how the product of the project will be accepted by the client. What are the deliverables in the project? What are the exclusion which is not in the project? All the assumptions and constraints. And project scope statement is a part of project scope baseline. Okay, when you have the scope statement, you have the common ground between the stakeholders, among the stakeholders, that what is need to be delivered as part of this project. Then we talk about how to create a work breakdown structure. Like scope statement is a narrative statement, is a kind of document. To bring the objectivity in the scope statement, we create a work breakdown structure, which is basically a structure of deliverables, in which subdivide the bigger deliverables into smaller. Okay, we talk about various ways we can develop work breakdown structure. In the first way, we talk about first dividing the project into phases, and then talking about what are the deliverables in each phases. And if these deliverables are big, we further subdivide them smaller and smaller and smaller till the time we find that the work package we have reached is easily manageable, as can be estimated, can be assigned to 1, 2, 3 or a team, and we can track it easily. In the second approach, we do not talk about phases, but we directly talk about deliverables and subdivide them into smaller and smaller. If a project is, we subdivide this into the sub-projects before we take one of these approaches. Now these are 3 approaches. There can be n number of approaches. Okay, it all depends upon the approach you take in the project. Okay, so we use decomposition, and the condition we keep for decomposition is every decomposition, the decomposition is necessary and sufficient. Not excessive decomposition, not a high level decomposition. And when we create work breakdown structure, we ensure that each and every task and activity is there in the work breakdown structure. Anything is not in the work breakdown structure is not supposed to be executed as part of the project. And if anything there in the WBS, okay, so output of the create WBS is a scope baseline, which is a combination of project scope statement, work breakdown structure, and WBS dictionary. What is WBS dictionary? WBS dictionary contains the details of each work package. It details out that what to be done as part of the work package, when it to be done, maybe at a if you have decided, or any other detail about that work package. So all the details about the work package are there in the work breakdown structure or WBS dictionary. Okay, then the fifth part is the validate scope. Validate scope, if you see, the one of the main input is verified deliverable. What is verified deliverable? A deliverable which is produced and have gone through quality control process. Quality control process checks for the correctness of the deliverable against the requirement. So you have requirements. Against the requirement, it's checked that if the deliverable is correctly functioning. Now, what is done here in validated scope, we check that the deliverable is not only correct but also complete. Whatever there in the scope is also there in the deliverable. So there are two parts. One is correctness, other is completeness. So in quality control, we check for correctness. In validated scope, we check for completeness. And that's what we do here. And therefore, the outcome is the accepted deliverable. Because after that, the deliverable is not only correct, but also of this process is to get it accepted by the client. So if the client is not accepting, he will raise some kind of change request, which is the second output. It is done through inspection, that is review, walkthrough, etc. Okay, you have reviews, audit, walkthroughs. These are called tools or inspections. You can use some group decision techniques to sort out issues or come to a conclusion. Output of this is an accepted deliverable. Yes?
So the question is like you were talking about variable verifying deliverables, right?
Right.
So it has the component of testing too, right? Other than quality?
Quality control is basically testing.
Okay.
Testing
Okay,
is quality control.
Vivek, it is not always quality control is equivalent to testing.
Okay.
So, when we say, Vivek.
Go ahead.
When we say quality control, we are just validating the scope of work, not the actual work. So two different things.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it. It is like that. You are talking about quality control which your SQA is doing in your organization, right?
Right.
That is called quality assurance. So definition is like that. There is the definition difference which is used at your workplace and what PMI has defined. So the SQA which is coming to your project, auditing various documents and trying to see that the things are all right, that is called quality assurance. And quality control is what your testing team is doing.
Okay. So you mean to say validating scope also contains testing of the code or whatever?
No. Validating scope is what your business analyst does.
Okay.
Business analyst is doing requirements. Okay, define the scope, everything. During the project execution, he helps team to understand the requirements correctly. Okay. Once the testing team has passed the deliverable, then the business analyst review the deliverable and see that it is also complete from the functionality point of view.
Vivek,
Right.
Can we word it like quality assurance is done via external some certification agency, but quality confirming quality is done internally.
Okay.
Third
What
party.
the organization outside of the companies are doing, they are validating that you have quality standards or not. So
Yes, that's assurance.
they give you the
That's
rating
basically a
of
process,
at
right?
what level you are.
All the quality measures you took are in line with the industry standards. That's assurance.
Yeah, you can define it like that, but I'm talking about how PMI has defined it. Because these terms are differently defined at different organizations and different places. So
Right, there lies the confusion. So I also got confused with the assurance
right.
and control that you
So
were talking.
what Jaira is saying, that is also right. That quality assurance is your quality standards are as per the industry standard or not. But
Yes,
that is what the external organization who are certified organization who certify companies, they ensure that your whatever you are saying that you are doing ABC, are you doing ABC or not? And then they rate you that you are at this level. Maybe it could be a CMM level, it could be ISO, or it could something else. But what PMI has defined, the PMBOK, the quality assurance is what your SQA does. Come to your project, review your documents and see that you are doing as per the accepted quality standard from the organization quality policy. So every project has a little difference in the kind of quality standards that project has to maintain from the standard of the organization. So it inherits quality policy but made some changes. Then the SQA during the project execution planning or the controlling part, it comes to your project, review the things and then give you comments based on that. Are you doing what you have said or not? Now that's a quality assurance as per the PMI definition. Quality control is once the deliverable is complete or it's been delivered by the development team, the quality control team, which is a testing team in simple term, check that deliverable is correct as per the requirement or not. When we come to the quality, we'll discuss little more in that side. Looking for the completeness. The deliverable contains all the functionality which are documented in the scope and the requirement. Make sense? Okay, so outcome of this is accepted deliverable. If some defect in the deliverable with respect to completeness, then a change request is raised. Okay, the last part is the control scope. It is going as per the scope management plan or the things which are defined in the scope baseline, or what is the scope? It is measurement against the scope baseline. You have created a work breakdown structure, you have created a scope statement, and now you have to deliver the product or the deliverable as per that scope baseline. So it's a comparison against the scope baseline. And therefore the variance analysis is the only tool which is used here. So what we are trying to do here is that whatever is defined in the scope baseline, we are only doing that. We are not doing anything different, less or more. Okay, so in the control, you will see that many times the input is work performance data, because control comes after execution. And work performance data is actually raw data which you have collected from the execution. So it's a collected data. It's not processed. So during execution, you collect the data, how it is being executed, and then that is normally an input to the control. It could be an input during the execution, in execution processes as well, but majority it will go to the control process. So the way you have prepared the deliverables or the progress on the deliverables, these things are captured during the execution, and then we see that in the variance analysis that they are as per the baseline or not. And see that if there is any corrective or preventive measure is required to correct the situation if there is any variance. Information, which is a comparison between the plan and the actual performance. So you have got the actual data from the execution, plan data you will have, and now you have made a comparison, and now what you present is a meaningful information where the person can understand, am I doing as per plan or not. Okay, so that finishes scope management. Any question related to this? Please let me know before we switch to time management.
Vivek,
Yeah.
is there any templates that we could have a look at it? Like, for example, it could be work performance information or work performance data, such kind of reports. Do we have any kind of a sample report that we can have a look at it so we get a fair idea about preparing this document? If people are working on this project management for the first time, it would be of great help for them.
Okay. 1 minute. Let me.
I agree.
See, normally if you, I tell you, you might have seen in various projects, there is a bar chart which talk about plan. Against that, we also create a bar which talks about actual. This comparison is variance analysis. This can be done with respect to time. This can be done with respect to the cost. This can be done with respect to the scope. That as of today, how much scope we supposed to cover and how much we have covered. So a sample bar chart which is normally available in Excel sheet, or so you can use that. So the whole idea about is what was your plan, what you have delivered, and the comparison between them. And it can be done in various manner as such.
Vivek, it's a good question. However, the answer could be variable because every industry may have different versions of it. But I was wondering, as we are going through each of these chapters and different areas in the project management, is there a project in your hand that these theories and the results apply to certain segments of that project, and then we can see a snapshot of it, like the reports, something like that, and it could have been answer to this earlier question, that page of that project. Like a quick glance when bar charts or quality assurance report or quality report or validation, what they wrote for that specific project. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Are your question related to only the this report of plan versus actual, or you want to see some other details as well?
Yeah, I think it could be not necessarily comparing the actual versus the plan versus the actual. It could be, for example, it could be a scope document. For instance, what kind of structure we need to follow. I mean, it just gives us a fair idea, what are the documents to be prepared. We actually go through these steps in theory, but if we can have some kind of a template document which we can go through, or as Zaira mentioned, if you have a kind of a project which you can run through with all these reports being generated from input to output in a short period of time, it could be helpful, for people who are doing project management for the first time.
Okay, so I show you some planning templates I have. So I don't have right now ready some report kind of things. I bring it tomorrow. I show you some templates on how do you define scope and how you can define a traceability matrix, because these are the pretty important things in the scope management. I think you have seen the examples of the work breakdown structure. So one thing which I look at this. Okay, this is a scope statement. It's one example of a scope statement where you start with the executive summary, means the background of the project. You talk about the business objectives. Then you define what are the deliverables part of the scope, what is not there in the scope, what is your completion or acceptance criteria, any assumption, any constraint, your milestones, what deliverables to be delivered at what time. This could be something like, it may be related to time, you may skip it here, keep it in some other document, but it is required. Now, if you are interested, I normally give a case study to the people to do all these things. So I give you these templates of charter of this, and you can come out with your you can try the case study. So you can try out the project charter, scope statement, the time, the schedule, the costing, budgeting, etc. with this case study. Will that looks good? The only thing is that if you are facing challenge in attempting the questions, from where you will get time to do this case study. So I intend to give you case study. Tomorrow I will give you a case. You can, and I will tell you what you need to do. I will give you these templates also. I tell you the template is 10%, 90% is filling it. Filling it appropriately is 90%, template is just 10%. So maybe I will also show you some kind of report also.
Vivek, but in real time, these are not standardized templates, right? So this can change project to project, industry to industry. So I mean, I'm not able to appreciate filling these details.
No, it's not about that. This is a very simple template as such. When we ask people to fill it, what is the challenge normally people face, that when they write objectives, most of their objectives are not appropriately written. So understanding the objective of the project is the most challenging part. I can tell you that if I ask 10 project managers, only 1 or 2, maximum 3 project managers will tell me the right objectives of the project. Most of the project managers will tell me doing the project is the objective. That is where the problem is. Template could be anything. You get a template which is very comprehensive. You can tell 10 sections that they are not applicable.
I think that's where my point of question was, like, yeah, as you said, like, templates may vary industry to industry, but the contents what we fill in the template would follow the standards what is being defined in PMWOC, or could be a general standard. So just trying to understand how best we can come up with, as you said, like the objectives of or the defining the scope. Like it shouldn't create an issue. I mean, it shouldn't happen like we describe the entire project as part of the objective, right?
No, I tell you that if I give you this case study, you come out with your inputs and you send it, and like we are discussing these question answers, if we discuss 1 or 2 case study here, it will give you much more information about that, how we have to define a scope, how we need to define a traceability matrix or fill a traceability matrix, how we have to generate reports. I will try to bring some reports to show you tomorrow. When you actually do, then actually learning happens. I can show you something, you will go through this, but that's not that does not give much understanding. So I can bring you some samples. That's samples. Bringing samples shouldn't be a problem. I just need to see that the little confidentiality is maintained in the sample.
Yeah, Vivek.
Yeah, maybe end of. Sorry.
Hello. Yeah, yes, Vivek. Sai here. So as Rajesh told a little early, it will be a good help for guys like the beginners to figure out where to start and where to end, and to get an idea how the document looks like. So I see as in a very positive way if you could share something out like this. And I also agree there will be some confidentiality inside, because you can take those things off, and this will help us a lot to get an idea about
I got your point. So I will bring some samples and will show you.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Vivek, like, by end of every end of process, we could quickly run through a case study in case if we are not going to assign it to all the team members. We could quickly run through the case study and see what are the input documents, what are the output documents as part of the template, and get acquainted to it. And probably you can also share the documents if the blank templates at the end of the session, so that we can work in the background and get more views to it.
Sure.
Other than assigning it. Okay.
Will do. Okay. One of the
I think
samples
this is the best idea.
Sorry. Okay. One of the sample of the traceability matrix is in front of you. This is where the functional requirement documents, the requirements which are documented in FRD, which are mentioned here. Then the test case design, an equivalent file name which is given where the test case for this functionality is defined. Design document section is mentioned here where this requirement is addressed. Low-level design is talking about this, that where the low-level design for this functionality is addressed, and what is the code file, and if anything is pending, completed or not completed, the status as of today. So this is one sample of the traceability matrix. Okay, I think Omakant has a question. Why does validate scope come before control scope? Because the output of validate scope has already got accepted deliverables as output. No, it's not before and after. They happen in parallel. Validate scope happens when you get a deliverable from the quality department, and control scope is a regular process. Like it's a part of their weekly review.
So it is not the case that all the sub aspects of the scope management plan should come in the sequence.
No, it's
scope
not
management
like
should come in the
that.
sequence.
See, if you see, they appear sequence. So we're talking about planning, execution, control. They three part happen in parallel. So first time you plan it out, then you execute, then the monitoring, control, replanning, execution. This is all in parallel going on. That's why you see a circle around that. Planning, execution, monitoring, and control is a circle actually.
So is this why iterative word is used?
I didn't get. Say it again, Jana.
That's why the iterative word is used, or overlapping, or
No, overlapping is different. Overlapping is about the phase overlapping. When you move from requirement to design, they are overlapping. Means before requirements are closed, design is started. That is overlapping phase. Now, when we talk about circle means you plan a portion of the project, you execute this, while the planning of the other modules are in progress. Okay, you execute it, then when you execute it, you will definitely measure it. That is a planning, that is a control and monitoring and control. So when you do monitoring, means you see that plan versus actual. Now then it comes to the controlling part, that is taking action. Taking action means you are changing plan. When you are changing plan, then the planning again come into picture. And when the plan is changed for the next week or for the next month or the next tracking period, then again execution will happen. You again measure it. You again make some change need to be done in the next tracking period. Therefore, it's a complete sequence. So it's a complete sequence. So you have a planning process, you have execution,
I only ask this, Vivek, because if you look at the scope management process, all the things are defined, like plan scope management, correct requirements, define scope, create WBS, validate scope, control scope. I was thinking that these are all these should be executed in sequence. I was thinking that way.
No, there is no sequence actually. They are shown in the sequence because this is how they have to write. They can write something before, something after, but they are not in sequence. They are not in parallel.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let me close this. Okay, the next chapter is time management. It is about preparing a schedule. It's something like you can correlate what other such similar tool. Okay, the focus is how we can deliver the outcome of the project on time. There are 7 processes. Preparing a schedule management plan, that is how schedule will be prepared and maintained. Define the activities. We have work packages. Now to develop work package, we have to have some activities. So those define activity means you are identifying the activities required to produce the work package. The third is the sequencing activities, looking at the dependencies among the activities and establishing them. Then seeing that what resources are required, how many in quantity, what skills are required. And once we have this, we go for duration and then prepare the schedule. And once you prepare the schedule, controlling schedule means you need to look at the schedule on a periodic basis. So every period you go and see that you are any changes on the ground is reflected in the schedule, and the schedule is in control or not. It's a very extensive exercise. You can see, looking at that out of 7, the 6 processes are in planning and 1 process in control is in the monitoring and control. And basically this control schedule is doing all these things again and again. This is a simple process. You develop a schedule management plan. You define all that, how you're going to define activities, how you will be defining what model you will use for sequencing, how the schedule will be prepared. Then you define the activities for each work package. You establish dependency among them, identify resources for each activity. Then you estimate the duration of each activity. When you have all these things, you put all these things together in a tool, in a scheduling tool, and develop a schedule. And after that, periodically you visit this schedule and keep up to date. Okay, the schedule management plan is...
I just have a basic...
Yes, Rajesh?
I'm sorry, I think I'm interrupting you while going through the slide. Is that okay, or can we discuss the query in the later point of time? Okay. I just had a basic question. Could you go to 2 slides, back the first? Yeah. While talking about time management, in this slide we talk about how we can plan the activities in a sequence, and estimate and how much time it's going to take to work on each activity, things like that, so on and so forth. But if you look at the previous slide, I could see the time management coming into picture as part of the planning process. But when we start initiating the project chapter, right? Defining the project chapter. At that point, we should have, as part of the objective of the project, we need to know the higher level timeline. How are we going to complete this in 6 months of the duration to meet the complete objective? But in this case, we are just talking about the activities as planned. But how do we define how do we take a call that this particular project can be completed in 6 months, or why not in 4 months, or why could it? It could extend it to 8 months as well, right? So time management should start from the project initiation as well. Is that right, or how does the teamwork define?
So you are right that in the project charter there is a milestone plan already there. In fact, there is no project which is started without having an end date in mind. And that's what we learned, that project means there is an end date. And you know that end date before you start the project, normally. So you know the end date, and you have a milestone plan in project charter, and therefore in the schedule management plan, the project charter is there as an input. Okay, so your time management, your cost management, your scope management start as soon as you start the project. But the matter is that what is the depth? At the initiation, the depth is low. Now here we are having a deep dive into that. So we know that it has to be done in 6 months. Now here the challenge is how we schedule this project so that we can complete it in 6 months. How we put together this schedule to complete this in 6 months. And if not possible, then we have to go to the stakeholders and tell them that it's not possible and working out a new date. Not at the time when you are about to deliver, but at the time when you are actually planning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's kind of clear. But so if there is any differences in terms of trying to work on this plan or time management scheduling of the activities, so there are chances that we could go back to the sponsor and update those differences and probably have a project charter updated accordingly, right? Like instead of 6 months, it could extend up to 8 months.
Probably, if that is the only option. If you cannot finish this in 6 months, and it could only possible in 8 months, then we should go, because we should not accept the infeasible thing.
Because in render scenarios, I've seen the kind of estimates what we define initially, like when the customer or the the stakeholders who is interested in the project is going to demand for the deliverables. We would say like it's based on pure experience. We would determine this is the time that it would going to take, and then after scheduling we would realize that the time what we have specified to the customer is not sufficient, and then we go back with reasons which the customer would not be happy. So probably, yeah, I think we need to follow this just prior to start of the execution. Got it. Thank you.
Right. That is called stakeholder management.
Okay.
Rajesh, I remember reading in the PMBOK that the timing is those estimates either from the historical files or from the people who are doing the actual work, the team members. They are the ones who would be doing, and they would be the ones who is giving the best estimate. I guess it would be the best to report the timing to the upper management after those estimates and fine-tuning, and then it would be more realistic, I guess, how long the project requires versus how much in reality it could be done. And then accommodating whatever is the difference up to the project manager, how to crash it or how to tweak it or...
Right.
Yeah.
So I think when we complete this chapter,
probably there could be.
Right. What I suggest, let's discuss this after completing this chapter. I think many questions will get automatically answered.
Sure. Thanks, Vivek. You can go ahead.
Okay. So schedule management plan is about how we are going to create and maintain this schedule. What are the tools we are going to use in this, and what are the methodology we're going to use. Anything specific about managing the schedule on the project should be mentioned in the schedule management plan. You are aware about all the tools and techniques normally used here. So what are the analytical techniques, are the tools and techniques we are going to use for preparing and maintaining the schedule. What tools you will use, what are the estimation approach you're going to use, what format you will develop. All these things are part of it. schedule management plan. So what you define here is the model, the level of accuracy you're going. So you will be something like that. You will be measuring the efforts in hours or in percentage. You will measure duration in hours, in days, in weeks, or in months. That's the level of accuracy or the depth of the measurement or unit of the measurement. Okay, so various schedule, the models, etc. Some threshold we have to define with respect to our schedule. The performance measurement, how we're going to measure the performance of the schedule, what format we will report the progress, or any other process which are going to be used in the schedule management. Okay, the second part of this is define activities. So you just look at this example. There is a module to be developed, develop cash flow module. Now this is a work package. So to develop this, you have to prepare specification, you have to do coding, you have to do unit testing, you have to do code review, you have to do code rework, and then this is a kind of milestone that your module is done. So once all these activities are done, your work package is ready. And here the idea is identifying all these activities. Therefore, scope baseline is here.
Vivek,
It
could
is
you help
giving
me
you
to
a breakdown structure. Yes.
I am confused with the verbiage. I understand what's going on, but the verbiage kind of troubles me. Why the cash flow verbiage used there instead of develop flow module? Are the cost of these activities in consideration as well?
No, it's just a name. You can do so. Instead of cash flow, you say develop ABC module. Cash flow is just a name there.
Okay. Developing this module, right?
No, we are just talking about the duration this time, and this is just a name. Any module, it could be any module, or say develop module 1.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we will use decomposition again. That is basically it is not a decomposition, it is termed as decomposition. Earlier we were dividing the bigger piece into smaller pieces, so it was decomposition was right word. But here again decomposition is used for identifying activities for the module, but it is not decomposition actually. It is these activities have to be identified and defined in the work package. It is basically is not a decomposition, but in here it is called as decomposition. Second is rolling wave planning. We'll talk about that. And the outcome is the activity list of all the work packages. Okay, so decomposition, here decomposition, as I said, the idea here is not to divide the work package into further smaller pieces, but identifying those activities which are required to be performed to develop the work package. And what is rolling wave planning? I think I gave a little idea some time back that you have a schedule like this. You're starting from here. You don't have the idea of complete project. Project is 6 months. You don't know how this all will be worked out, and because at this place the information available about the project is pretty low. So what you do, you define the project, you have all the milestones or the higher level plan of the complete project, or the higher level does not require details. What you do, you create a window, let's say 1 month. 1 month window. So from here, you whatever is coming in this 1 month, you plan it out in a very detailed manner. So we are talking about detailing, identify activities for the deliverables which are in near term, means coming in this 1 month. Now, if your review cycle is 15 days, then you come here and again review your project. Then you move this window for another 15 days. So now this will, or this portion will also come into your window. What you do, you define the plan which is coming into this window in detail, and remaining you keep at a higher level. That is called rolling wave planning. It is especially required in the beginning of the project. After certain period, you may be knowing everything about the project, or the project become quite predictable. At that time, you can solve this. You can prepare the project plan or detailed plan for complete project, maybe a month or so. So when you are starting a project, you detail out complete plan for your requirement gathering, which may be a 6-month project, could be a month. And by the time you reach to design, you may prepare the complete plan for design and low-level design, or architecture design, low-level design. By the time you reach halfway to design, you plan out couple of deliverables, couple of modules in detail. And when you start up customer, you may plan out to the end of the project complete. Now we are only talking about detailing. Okay, so detailing we are doing on a slowly. That is, we are detailing in near term, but the far term deliverables are kept at a higher level. It is called, this is implementation of progressive elaboration. Now the output is the activity list and the activity attributes. This is similar to the work package and the WBS dictionary. So it's an activity, you have identified an activity, and all the details of these activities are called activity attributes. That what is the name of the activities, who are assigned to it, who is the predecessor, successor, efforts required, timeline is going to take, when it will start, when it will end, any other detail about it. You can give an WBS ID to it. All the details about the activity is defined in the activity attributes, or called activity attributes. And you also come out with a milestone list. So you have a milestone plan from charter, but that may get detailed out. And so you may find some more smaller milestones than at a higher level which were available in project charter. Okay. Once you identify all the activities, you look for the sequencing. So what you do, you create a kind of network diagram, which is an output of this process. And you need all these things. The tools which you normally use is PDM. So it's a precedence diagramming method and dependency determination. We'll talk about lead and lags, which are part of this PDM. Earlier it was another method which was called arrow, I think, diagramming method, and which is now withdrawn because it is almost obsolete. So this is how PDM is. I think you might have seen it, but or would have done it also. So this is called activity on node. So earlier the ADM was also there, which was called activity on arrow. So activity is supposed to be here, but that has been drawn because it is not in practice anymore. So this is a network diagram which has come out as a part of this process, and it just shows that F is dependent on E and P, and similar to other activities. The idea of this process is to develop this kind of network diagram. To do so, we need to understand what kind of dependencies are possible. So there are 4 types of dependencies possible. For first one is FS, that is finish to start. It is something like that. It is a sequential dependency where the predecessor has to finish to start the successor. Okay. The second type is start to start, means as soon as the predecessor start, you can start the successor as well. The third is finish to finish. That means as soon as the predecessor finishes, you can finish the successor as well. Now these are can kind of things. They are not must. Here it is must. But here it is as soon as this start, you can start this. But not necessarily. You can start it here also. Your condition is met, you can start anytime. Even a later time. Okay, similarly here. Now, this is the 4th type of dependency called start to finish. Okay, just opposite to FS. I haven't seen any practical use of this dependency, and in my life I have never used it also, and I'm doubtful that you will be ever be using it. So let's focus on these 3. This is simple. One minute, give me a minute. Okay, my computer is responding a little slowly. Okay, so this is a must kind of thing. This is a parallel activities. This is also parallel. The only difference between this and this, that the condition is the start, while here the condition is at the end. Here the condition is being met at beginning of the predecessor. This is when the predecessor is finishing. But in both the cases the activities are in parallel. Okay. Only these, normally these 3, 90% or 80 to 90% you will see that it is FS relationship which is normally used, and in some cases the SS and FF are also used. Right. Even in FS there is a can condition, means you can start it little late. Once this is met, you can start at a later time. So, though one side, until the predecessor finishes, you cannot start successor. But once the predecessor finishes, you can start successor a little later also. And that is we call lead and lag. You see there is lead and lag. What is lead? Your dependency is met or met before that you start the successor. That is called lead. So taking lead on the dependency. The dependency is not yet complete, but you have started the successor. A common scenario in all the projects, like your is not complete but you start the development. Why? Because when you are halfway with the design, you have created some kind of design which is difficult to change. Based on that design, you can start your development. This way you save a lot of time. But yes, there is a possibility that whatever you have developed, because the things are not complete, there is a possibility of change. And if that change happens, you have a rework. So therefore, whenever we bring this parallelism, or we like take a lead on the dependencies, the risk in the project actually increases. Okay, there is a question here. Normally, PM is not well versed with the technical activities of the breaking down work package into activity and sequencing. What's the role of PM defining activity and sequencing? Okay, PM is responsible to do this, but PM always do the things along with the team. If PM is doing, team is not involved, that's not a good idea. You define a scope, you define costing, you define timeline, you define quality of the project, quality policy of the project. Whatever planning you are doing, your team must be involved in it very actively. So it's not PM is ultimately accountable to do all these things, but there are many more people responsible and helping doing the things. More the PM involve the team, more the buy-in with the team, better the execution will happen. So as per PMI, PM does all kind of planning along with the team, which is right also. On the ground also we're supposed to do like that. To save our time, we normally avoid this, but not a good idea, because we normally face, most of the time we are facing problems in scheduling and other places because we avoid discussing with the team and their inputs are not there, and we face a lot of challenges later.
Vivek, if you look at, I was just trying to understand your answer to this question. But how does a project manager take a call, like it will be sequencing of activities? How does a project manager take a call that the sequence of activities A has to be followed by B, so on and so forth? Because since since he's not a technical techie guy, so he would not be able to analyze or take a call like whether first thing is like breaking down the work package to activities as well. It could be like instead of 10 activities, we could arrive at 15 or 20. So similarly, in terms of sequencing the activities. So I'm just trying to have some. Trying to get myself familiar with the basic question, like being a project manager, you may not be well versed with the domain or with the technologies or with the kind of tools being used as part of the project, but it is completely, don't you think like the project manager is completely dependent on the team, and his role is just like bringing all the team together and setting up a meeting? I mean, that's kind of a feeling that I have.
Okay. You tell me, the team, if is of 10 people, the project manager is one. You just think of that how much of the details of the project this project manager would be knowing. Okay. Second thing, is project manager accountable for the project success or not? It's a question.
Yeah, I think he's definitely accountable, but which is not. Yep, is definitely accountable, but which is not measurable in terms of the output, maybe as part of the product or project success. But otherwise,
what do you mean by accountable?
I mean, you would be accountable for every activity that is going as part of the project, but finally he'd be kind of as part of the project success, we could identify that he's a good project manager, but otherwise he would have struggled a lot to get the team in place, work on activities. But since he might be lacking in terms of the technical stuff that is going internally, like for defining an activity or sequencing activities, things might go wrong. So, but he would have done a good project management, but still, since just is lacking with the technical, stuff, things might go wrong. So my question is like, is since we talk about project manager being a generic person who could work on any project irrespective of technology and domain, how do we cater to sequencing? It's all dependent on the team, or we have a, kind of an architect who will be responsible within the team. What we set up as a meeting to sequence activities, and project manager depends on the architect and then architect to look after the team to decide whether the sequence of activities is right or wrong.
Okay. See, accountability means if the project fails, then project manager will be kicked out. That is called accountability. And to
yeah, I think that's what theoretically, practically.
It's not theoretical,
it's
practical. There is nothing practical about it.
Yes, and the team gets dissolved and starts working on another project. So, but yeah.
If the project manager is thinking that he's accountable for the project is theoretical, then he's not accountable actually, or he's not feeling the accountability. Now, when the accountability come into picture, then you talk about that PM has to do everything to make this project successful. Now, that does not mean you start learning the technical stuff. Your child is trying to learn some violin. You don't know violin. What do? You take him to the violin expert. That's the same is here. But you ensure that he's learning violin and he's learning properly, and he also demonstrating his skills. You don't know violin. So the project manager is the same. He doesn't know technicalities. Maybe he doesn't know several things in the project, but he get involved. He bring experts. He do cross questioning. He try to understand the logics behind what the team is doing, and ensure that things are going as per the plan, or if the team requires some support, or if the things are going not as per the plan, then what should be done. Discuss with the team, but ultimately he has to take an action. So it is same like bringing up your child, that child requirements are beyond your capabilities, but you do everything at the end of the day. And that is absolutely practice. It's not a theory. So the answer here is that PM may be knowing a very little about the project. This is true for all the projects. There is a limitation with everyone. He cannot know everything about the project, but he has to understand what he needs to know. Have more communication with the team, remain close with the team, and understand what the team is doing, what kind of problems they are facing, where they are going, what support they need, what support project managers need from the team. More he is in the communication with the team, more he will learn about the project. He need not to be an expert of the technology. He need not to be a business analyst. He need not to be a coder. He need not to be a tester. But he can talk to the tester and understand if the things are fine. But ultimately he is accountable for the success of the project. So he has to do everything. Ensure that everything is happening. He need not to know everything. For the new project managers, it is little tough to accept this, but that is, they accept little later, but after beating up some couple of times. That's and the good project managers actually learn without beating up. Get beaten up actually.
Right. Thanks, Vivek.
Yeah. So whenever you take a project manager's role, you think that everything, whatever is required to be done, it is you have to do at the end of the day. Nobody else may be doing your job actually, of decision making at least. Okay, so in the tools and techniques, what we do, we define the dependencies. Now dependencies, we talk about 4 types, and we also talk about leads and lags. We also talk about leads and lags, and the lag is something when the dependency is met, but you are still waiting for something to happen to start the successor. For example, that you have a semi-finished product on one site A, and the further processing will happen on site B, and it takes 1 week to take this product, a semi-finished product, from site A to site B. Now, to start work at site B, the semi-finished product when produced is the dependency in the project, because courier or taking the machine or the semi-finished product from one side to another side is not the activity which is scheduled in your project. It is just that the semi-finished product will be taken up to the next place. Now some other person will be doing it, but you are dependent on that, and therefore this lag come into picture. Okay, when the dependency is out of the, when the dependency is external, you do not have much control on that. You estimated how much time it will take, and then create a lag for that, and that this lag is all about that. This lag is all about this. You have built up the pillars, and now you have to start working on the roof. You need to wait for 2-3 days for pillars to settle down. That is called lag. Okay, and dependencies are also mandatory and discretionary. Mandatory are the dependencies which cannot be changed, called hard logic. Something like, I just give an example, that you before like when you have built up the pillars, you need to start working on the roof. So for the roof, pillars have to be there. So that's a mandatory dependency. Now there are some discretionary dependencies. Discretionary dependency means you can do either way, but you decide in one way. Okay, there is no as such dependency among the 2 activities, but you may schedule them in sequence, or you can schedule them in parallel. Because there is no dependency between A and B, you can schedule them B after A, or A or B together, or A after B. That will be discretionary. Based on what is best suited to you, you will take a call. Now when we talk about compressing the schedule, there is a method called fast tracking. In fast tracking we try to do sequence activities which are in sequence. We try to do them in parallel. At that time only discretionary dependency come into picture, because mandatory dependency cannot be changed. We relook at our discretionary dependency where we have put the dependence or the activities in sequence, and we see that can we do them in parallel, so that you can shrink the overall duration of the project. Okay, the output is a network diagram, something like this. You see this? Now this SS plus 1 tells that E depends upon B on start to start dependency with a 1 day of lag. That is, when the B will start, E will start 1 day after that. Similarly here, if you see, when we talk about this fs plus minus 2, fs minus 2 means G depends upon F with fs dependency. That is G, what happened? Okay, so G comes after F, but minus 2 says this is 2 days of lead G has taken. Means when the F will finish, G will start 2 days before that. Similarly here, that is B, the C will start after B, or 5 days after B is finished. And then we come to estimating the resources. What resources are required for these activities? So we'll look into the availability of the resources. We look into that what resources are available, in how much quantity, what skills are required, and based on these constraints and of the availability and what is required, we either do some alternative analysis to find out what resources we should have on the activities. Once we will have the resources on that activity, or we estimated the resources on the activity, we go for duration estimate. Okay, for that we use alternative analysis. Alternative analysis is like a particular skill is not available, then we try to find out, or the kind of experience we are looking for is not available. So what is the alternative? Who else can do this job? And based on this will be a good input, because we do in most of the cases the getting resource is a real challenge for the project manager. So this alternative analysis is very common. Then we use published estimated data, because the previous within the organization or outside of the organization, we look at the data which is available and see that what kind of resources are required in case we have little idea about the project activities. Bottom-up estimate means we are looking at the resources required for the activities and then summing up onto the higher level work package, and then the higher level deliverables, then at the project level. Then we've identified at project level what are the resources required, at what time, what is the skills there, and what is the experience we are looking for. So you consolidate all the resource requirements at the project level by summing up from the activities to the top of the project WBS, the top of the WBS. Scheduling normally required a project management software to be used, like Microsoft Project, Primavera, and other many tools are available in the market. This is such kind of this kind of work is normally very difficult to do manually. It's supposed to be done in very initially, and it was very time consuming. Nowadays you can't do it without a tool. So you come out with the resource requirement for each activity in the project. and you also create a resource breakdown structure, basically structure of the team. Now, the fifth one is estimating the duration. You have the resources, you know what kind of resources will be available to you. Using them, you estimate the duration of the project. And you see that for estimating the duration, several things are required. Availability of the resources, the scope statement, source breakdowns, so many activities, if anything which can contribute in estimating the duration, which is there. And we have various methods. We'll go through these methods, and the outcome is activity duration estimate for each activity. Duration estimate for each activity. Okay, so expert judgment is simple. You create a work breakdown structure, and you go for each item in the work breakdown, go to each activity and ask for some expert to give his opinion that how much time will be required to complete this activity. Okay, if you are not using any structured method, you may be using this method. The drawback of this method is that if you give the same WBS to 10 experts, they come out with the 10 different estimates, because their experience could be different. The second is the analogous estimate. Analogous estimates are the estimates which are when the project is very similar to a project which has already been executed in the organization earlier. So if there is a project which has happened earlier in the organization, if you have a similar project now in front of you, what do? You look back at that project, see that what are the actual data there, how much time team took on that particular project, and try to copy that into the new project. So your estimation is based on the data available or the historical information available about the previous project, some other project. It's a one-to-one comparison. The more the similarity is, better the estimates are. If the similarity is less, the estimates will be poor. Another one is a parametric estimate. The parametric estimates are formula driven, like here some formula is given. Okay. Now this formula could be a standard formula and could be driven also. You have derived this formula from the previous project. So in that case, many times what will happen, we use a regression analysis technique. That means we use data of the several projects done in the past. Based on that, we try to derive a formula like this one. Maybe the productivity of the one labor. You see this productivity? The productivity could be based on the data of the previous projects. You cannot define productivity of the labor from one project. You have to analyze multiple projects and then average out the productivity of the labor and then use that thing here. Okay, in some cases you can also understand the relationship between two variables like project size and the efforts required to complete that project. That may not be linear. As the project size increases, the complexity in the project actually increases. In that case, what happens? The efforts required are not linear to that. They required much more than in the big project than comparing to the smaller project. So the graph may be going a little curve, taking a little curve. So you know that what is the then for that curve you create an equation, and based on that, if you know the size of the project, you know the efforts of the project also. Okay, so the difference between the analogous and parametric is that in the analogous it is one-to-one comparison. In analogous it is one-to-one comparison, while in parametric you derive a formula based on the previous projects, multiple projects, not one-to-one. You derive a formula and then or some figure and use that figure or formula to estimate the new project. That's the difference between parametric and analogous. Often people get confused because they are both based on the historical information. But in analogous it is one-to-one. You just copy the actual data of the previous project into the new project. The similarity, more the similarities, better the estimates are. While the parametric estimates are more generic in nature, means you generalize the behavior of the work organization based on analyzing multiple projects, then to derive a formula of a figure and then use that formula or figure to estimate new projects. Now another type of estimates are called PERT estimate. And the PERT estimates are also called 3-point estimates. And in this, what happens? The expert give its opinion based on 3 points, that is most likely, optimistic and pessimistic. So in an expert judgment, as I said initially, that if you they will come out with 10 different estimates. Now to neutralize this, we use this PERT formula. In this, what we ask from expert is not one figure but 3 figures. That is most likely. In the most common circumstances, what is the estimate? Optimistic. It means everything is favorable, then what is the time it will take? And pessimistic means everything goes unfavorable, and then what is the estimate? So in a favorable conditions, in unfavorable condition, and in the common circumstances. And then we use this formula, optimistic plus 4 into most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6. That is called, with this formula we come out with the estimates. Now with P minus O, pessimistic minus optimistic divided by 6, we get the standard deviation. The standard deviation give us an information about that what is the variance in the estimate. So if suppose the estimate duration is 20 and the standard deviation is 2, that means the activity will finish somewhat between 20 plus minus 2. That means between 18 days to 22 days. So you get a range in which the activity will finish instead of one figure. So you do not tell your stakeholders that you will finish on 20th day. You tell them my project may finish from 18th days to, or my activity will finish from 18 days to. Okay. Now in this range, let me go back. In this range, what happens? If there are multiple activities, obviously in a project there will be multiple activities. If we want to identify the standard deviation of the project, which comprises of multiple activities, we may add up the duration, but we cannot add up the standard deviation because it's a plus minus. Okay? So what we do to add up, we take a square of the standard deviation which neutralizes the sign, that is called variance. So this is actually square, SD square. So this SD square This is P minus O divided by 6, the square of that. The square nullify the sign, and now we can add the square, add the variance, and take a square root of variance. So what we will do here, I have an exercise for you to do. You use this formula to come out with the estimate duration, and then get the standard deviation, come out with the for A, B, C, D. Now you can add up the estimated duration, but you cannot add the standard deviation. So you take a variance of each standard deviation, then add up this variance here, and then take a square root to fill this figure. So here for each abbreviation, it will be estimated duration plus minus standard deviation. Estimated duration plus minus standard deviation. But for this total, the total of this plus minus total of variance and then square root of that. Right? You can do that. So let's attempt this exercise.
So, wait, the total you were mentioning here is about the total of the range duration or the total of each of the column mentioned there? Right?
Okay, so we are assuming here that activity A, B, C, D are in sequence.
Yes.
So the total duration of the project would be add up of the estimated duration.
Okay.
Okay, we can add the standard deviation, but as per the formula, you cannot add standard deviation.
Correct.
So you need to calculate the variance for each activity, add it, get the total of the variance, and then in square root to fill this column.
Okay, I got it. So you have to go to the variance part first and get the square root and fill it up the standard deviation part.
Right, right.
Okay.
Right.
No, we are on the way.
On the way, okay. Yes.
Vivek, so this variance, you first have to calculate the standard deviation by going to the column variance, right? It's the square root of what? Can you come again? It's a square root of 48 minus 30, right?
You like to calculate this here. So 15 plus 10, 25 plus 8, how much? 33, right?
Yeah.
And divide by 6, something like 5 point something.
Yeah.
And if you do this minus this, it is 7 by 6. 7 divided by 6 is this, which is 1.1 something. And that 1.1, the square of 1.1 will be something 1.11 something, 1.01 or something. That will be the square. And then similarly you will get here, you will get here, you will get here. You sum them up and then take the square root to take this, to get this figure.
Okay.
It's good to do this exercise. You will get at least one question on the PMP exam. It will give you more.
Vivek, you want the bottom totals as well. I see. Okay.
Sorry?
I was just the bottom line, the total. That's what I was saying for the estimated duration, standard deviation, and the variance, and the range duration plus minus standard deviation.
Right, right. So you can put it this estimated duration plus minus standard deviation.
For the three columns, though, not the last one, do you want the range duration plus minus the ST? Do you want that too?
Yeah.
You want only the three?
No, even you have made this is fine because that is ultimately the last column is just saying that this column plus minus this column. So it is fine as such, even if you do not do the last column. But if you write, it's just a matter of writing.
So I'm done. So
okay. Okay, I show you the maybe whatever you have done. You can check this.
yeah, exactly. I got it.
Got it? Okay. The mathematics.
Yeah, I got it. 5.44.
Okay, you're good in mathematics. Looks like.
Thank you.
Well, it is a mathematical exercise as such.
Yes.
How many people are right?
I am good.
Okay.
Yeah, even.
I'm good too.
Okay. Good, good. Good.
Vivek, can I ask you a
It
question?
is a mathematical. Yeah.
If we are considering duration as days,
Yeah, whatever it is, it could be hours.
how do we?
months.
Okay, then how do we take the decimals into consideration when we agree upon the timelines?
Yeah.
If we
No,
consider
I didn't get.
decimals,
Say it
like,
again.
let's say, if we take duration as days or hours or anything, how do we consider the decimals? Let us say 112.22.
So this is for calculation purpose. At the end of the day, here, the final figure is there. then you don't write 112.22. You say 112 to the 123. At the last result, you can round off. But in the middle of the calculation, you should not. The final result you can round off. You need not be accurate in hours in a day. Okay, so other tools are like group decision making techniques. I think you already know reserve analysis is about making provision for the contingency reserves. Means in case some problems occurs, then you should not go like you should not delay your things. So if you have a contingency reserve in terms of time, then it will save you going behind schedule. So you look at the project, you look at the duration as it is required for your project. The output is duration or the range in which your project may finish, or the chance or probable number that what is the chance of completing on a particular day or during particular duration. Okay, so next process is develop schedule. We'll take this up tomorrow, and then we will also move to costing part, and we'll learn earned value management in the costing. If you have any question, we'll be happy to address. You can bring that questions or additional question in the beginning of when we start tomorrow.
Okay.
Good. No questions?
No questions. Thank you.
So Vivek, you'll be assigning the quiz today or after tomorrow?
No, we'll enable the quiz for scope. You can attempt even today also.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
As soon as the chapter is complete, we will enable it.
Okay. Thank you.
But I suggest you to go through the slides before you attempt the quiz. Okay, if possible, go through the chapter also in PMBOK.
Yeah, that's the handout you mean, right?
Handout, yes, handout is this what the slide I'm talking about. But if you have PMBOK, I will say you go through the chapter also, read the chapter also in PMBOK. Maybe it gives you some additional information. Not necessarily, but it is good that if you read, every time you read, you can learn something new, right? So it becomes a little more comprehensive understanding, and then you attempt questions, it becomes easier.
Vivek, we don't have a soft copy of PMBOK. If you can share it, that would be helpful.
Difficult because you will get it when you become member of PMI.
Oh yeah, that's the one question I have. Can I, pay the fees right away and be a member, right? Or I have to wait till the course gets over?
No, you can become the member even now. You cannot apply for PMP exam till the time this course is over.
Oh, okay.
But you can become the member.
No.
I think very important is that page 61 on the PMBOK 5, which gives a crisp view of all the areas, that matrix. So I think getting the PMBOK, hand on the PMBOK is very important.
Yeah, reading PMBOK is an important thing. Though we cover up everything in the slides, but you say everything does not mean each and every line. Okay, it's a much bigger, and these slides are more comprehensive. We discuss a lot of things. We discuss a lot of things which are not written in PMBOK, but they are necessary for understanding. But there are left several things written in the PM box which we may not discuss also.
Absolutely.
Sometimes in some questions they may appear. So it is good to have PM box because ultimately exam is based on PM box. And these are slides are also based on that. So base document if you have, that is good.
It has
No,
65
PM book is not
pages.
35 pages. It is over 600 pages.
Okay, I got a strict version from some Southwest Missouri chapter with 42 pages. It's a strict version probably.
There is 600 pages in PM book.
No shortcut without paying the money.
No, it is too short actually, not really short.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So thank you very much for joining here. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank
For
you.
half of the
Thank you all.
population it is good night and half of the population it is good day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vivek.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Vivek.